I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What do you mean, calm it down? It's a fight. Referees telling two fighters who want to fight to calm it down? He should calm down.
I saw he's like a clown in his show, man. He's not your guy.
Because Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack.
Look, Eddie Hearn can say all what he likes. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearn says? It's garbage.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Can you let me retire and be happy? Please, just please.
Bombs away from the Bronx Bomber!
VADA! Let's go, baby! Let's go! I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
I got drunk, man. Are you kidding?
No, you won the fight.
OMG, I am so excited.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube, obviously podcast form, iTunes, Spotify, radio, etc. I am solo dolo. It's a late show today. It's a little bit later than usual. I apologize. My phone broke today, so I got a new phone here. So, yes, that was the extent of my day, was dealing with going to multiple different stores to try to buy a phone in my carrier. But digressing from that very boring anecdote of the day of me just trying to buy a new phone, of me going to 3 different stores and none of them having it in stock. But digressing from that, we have a ton of boxing topics to get to today. I'm Matt the Hipster Hunter. No Rob, no Foo here today. I apologize, but they're busy. But let's just get to the news, get to the topics of the day in the boxing world, because like I said, there's a lot of them. And it seems like we there's a lot of big ones that are all of a sudden just breaking, because we do have a sort of a breaking news story that happened like 5 minutes before the show started. So let's just get right to it. Canelo Alvarez is back in the news cycle, it seems. Mike Coppinger coming out earlier today saying sources tell The Athletic that DAZN's Joe Murkowski met with Golden Boy officials in L.A. today. Will Canelo Alvarez's approved opponents was expanded to 7, with Jermall Charlo added to the list, who joins Demetrius Andrade and several others as potential fall foes. Mike Coppinger also adds super middleweight champion Billy Joe Saunders, also on the list per sources. He was introduced today as the newest fighter of Eddie Hearn's stable. Saunders, who holds the title at 168, said he can also fight at 160, and specifically said he wants Canelo. Now, this is where it perhaps gets a little interesting, because this is where the news starts to develop rapidly right before the show started. We have Lance Pugmire coming out. Actually, before we go to this part of the news, let's separate it out first. Let's hold off. Jermall Charlo being attached in this hit list that I call it from DAZN, I find it interesting because it feels like the first time that Jermall Charlo has been mentioned with Canelo in any official capacity. So that's new. That's nice. It's a fresh start. And it's obviously it's a fight within the middleweight division that does make sense. Maybe not right at this point. There may be other fights that I could see making more sense. But hell, if we're waiting until this fall for a Canelo fight, a Jermall Charlo fight could easily fall in there. However, I just think that it was likely put on there as just a name. It's another top name. They're putting all the top names on the list. I don't think DAZN really cares if it's a pure DAZN versus DAZN fighter. I think they obviously value and believe in Canelo enough to think that he beats basically every one of the names that have been given to Golden Boy. But this is when the news starts to change, because of course it sort of the cycle of the news story for this specific news story was, wow, Jermall Charlo is now attached to it. That's interesting. Maybe we get a case where DAZN wants a Canelo Jermall Charlo fight, which I think a lot of fans would want too. That's an intriguing fight. But however, it sort of again developed from there Eddie Hearn was talking to reporters, and I find this interesting that this came out, again, maybe before the news really changed, but this did come out sort of within the same time frame of today. Michael Benson is who we're getting this from. Eddie Hearn told reporters today that he had a deal in place for Demetrius Andrade to face Canelo Alvarez next. But the Mexican wants Sergey Kovalev. Hearn said he's 99% sure Canelo versus Kovalev happens at the end of November if Kovalev comes through Anthony Yard. Now, this is when, again, it starts to sort of change. Right here, Canelo Alvarez maybe find Demetrius Andrade. What? Okay. By way of Ryan O'Hara of FightNights.com, Canelo Andrade World Title Unification bout nearly a done deal. Could take place October 19th or 26th in Las Vegas. I will add, Lance Pugmire tweeted out earlier that we could hear, he talked to Eric Gomez, and we could hear about a fight announcement for Canelo as early as tonight. And it seems like maybe it is Andrade. And Eddie Hearn was right that there was a deal in place that was almost in place with Canelo Andrade, but Canelo sort of backed out at the last minute in a sense, but now it's back on. The Canelo sweepstakes has been a curious case. On top of that, add the layer of a lot of this news is coming from Golden Boy officials, and we do know that Canelo Alvarez has been out in the media, or at least in his social media, saying, look, the people within Golden Boy are making deals in my name and that I have no awareness of or no knowledge of. So how much of this is Canelo even aware of is another level of this news story, which I don't think is getting enough traction. It's like, look, we know that Joe Mikowski met with Golden Boy officials, but was his reps there? Was his team there? Was he there? No, it doesn't seem like it was Golden Boy. Along with Andrade and Canelo, curious as to, whether this is coming from Golden Boy officials or Canelo's team, because, look, that does change everything. I think it significantly does, especially in this current paradigm of Canelo saying, I'm being left in the dark in terms of my dealings with Golden Boy and DAZN. On top of that, I'm not happy with Golden Boy. I wouldn't necessarily trust exactly everything Golden Boy is saying on behalf of Canelo and his next fight. Not necessarily in terms of a nefarious standpoint, but just because, look, they're not on the same page. It's clear that the promoter and the fighter aren't necessarily seeing eye to eye and maybe talking past each other in a drastic level of miscommunication. So if that's happening, God knows what, in terms of fight announcements or fight negotiations, is legit or not. It's just another layer to this story that I don't think is getting enough traction. But again, it is a really important layer to the story, because which story is coming from Canelo and which one's coming from Golden Boy? At this point in time, are Canelo and Golden Boy harmonious enough to where they're on the same page? I don't know if we can answer that at this point in time. But circling back, Canelo Andrade World Title Fight Unification in October per Ryan O'Hara. I'm intrigued by this. I think this is if you're making a list of the toughest fights for Canelo out of that 7 grouping, you have Billy Joe Saunders, Demetrius Andrade, Jermall Charlo, Triple G, assumingly Sergey Kovalev, Caleb Plant, we've heard, is also on that list. The toughest fights for Canelo are probably the really slick boxers, a la Andrade, Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, for example. So if he goes after Andrade, it's a unification. If not, maybe it wasn't undisputed, because obviously the IBF situation, but it should be an undisputed championship. And it is theoretically one of the tougher matchups for Canelo. So I'm on favor of a Canelo Alvarez Demetrius Andrade fight. Let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think is going to happen in this DAZN hit list. Who gets the Canelo fight? Are Canelo and Golden Boy on the same page at this point in time to where we can trust Golden Boy officials, a meeting between DAZN and Golden Boy having actual relevance to Canelo and what he's going to decide? I don't know anymore. But again, the names presented are quite interesting. Leonard Sterling said Ryan O'Hara blocked me because I called him out on his shit breaking news. Don't believe it from Fight News. Leonard, I will add to this. Ryan O'Hara is a guy that I'm not going to say is untrustworthy, but I have heard enough within the industry to be skeptical, of course. So take it for a grain of salt. But it is being reported, so at least I want to present that information to you. Big Boys Boxing saying Saunders Plant are tougher in my opinion. I'm still not sold on Andrade. I agree with you that Saunders and Plant are the tougher matchups than Andrade for Canelo. However, I would say right after them is Andrade. Right? If we're talking about them, I would even say Andrade stylistically maybe a tougher matchup than even Sergey Kovalev at this point in time, which is weird to think about, but maybe. And so it's Kovalev or Andrade is right after them, and then it would be Triple G and then Charlo, presumably, right? I would think that would be sort of the order of the hit list, so to speak, in terms of toughness, in terms of how difficult those matchups are respective to a Canelo matchup. Gary saying, all makes sense. Charlo was giving trash performances to bait Canelo into a fight. Man, wouldn't that be something? It's like, oh yes, we have tricked him now. He thinks we aren't that great. He's gonna fight us now. Big Boy Boxing, I think light heavy is a step too far for Canelo. It probably is. That's why maybe Kovalev is right amongst that, just because of the size difference. But moving on from that story, again, call in 323-870-4051. Calling on Skype, Mixed Combat Radio. Gary, I see in the chat, you better call in. I'm writing solo, so you better call in and talk about how Charlo is now on this hit list. I'm curious your thoughts on that. But moving on, so let me move this over here really fast, because that was way over there. There we go. Tyson Fury has declared that after Otto Whalen, he has plans to return to England for a fight in December. He said he believes his rematch with Deontay Wilder will be pushed back from a February date because Wilder vs. Ortiz 2 now looks likely for November per BT Sport by way of Michael Benson. God knows with Fury at this point. I don't care, to be honest, because I only care if Fury fights top-level opponents. But one thing I do care about is the perception of Fury's rebranding, which has been quite hilarious to me. VADA comes out. VADA Testing welcomes Tyson Fury and Otto Whalen to our program as they prepare for the September 14th bout in Las Vegas. I want to remind everyone that it is only 1 month till the fight. So, 4 weeks of drug testing. Wow. Awesome. Dude, I really hope to God that when Fury fights in a month, we don't hear about how he's being drug tested, because he's not. He really isn't. Let's be honest. Like, if you're only doing a month of drug testing, and you've been popped before and had a 1.5-year suspension for 2 substances, yeah, I'm not really believing this isn't effective in any way. And on top of that, even if they were in theory, let's say, spending $40,000 right for only 4 weeks comparative to the 12 weeks of Dylan White, I just don't think it's enough to really, adequately deal with PD usage in this fight. Theoretically, it's what I talked about before. It's that big giant net, which is just a square being put out there to try fish. That's what it is, and it's atrocious. And I just hope more people call it out for that, because Tyson Fury is not really being drug tested. Just pointing that out there. Moving on, though, Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz has been obviously a lightning rod of controversy for some time now, right? Now, it seems that the rematch is set, per Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn, per The Independent and Declan Taylor, headline Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz Jr. too. Eddie Hearn insists World Heavyweight Champion has 100% signed rematch contract. Let's read the exact quote from Eddie Hearn. Hearn said they have 100% signed the contract for this fight. This is boxing, of course. When Andy Ruiz signed the contract for the first and second fights, it was a dream come true for him. He would have taken much less, to be honest with you. Which I gotta say, like that, a little bit Trumpian there. Once he fights the first fight, every man and his dog has his local gym telling him he should be getting this and that. This deal was very fair. The deal was negotiated, and everyone who signed that deal, whether it was Tom Brown, his promoter, whether it's Ruiz himself, Al Heyman, his management company, they all know their obligations. They made it clear they didn't want to come to the UK. We were within our rights to stage it in the UK, but to be honest with you, we didn't want any excuses. There have been 10 times more problems with Andy Ruiz to come to the UK than a neutral venue. Now, I really just need to stop there. Again, for those that maybe are confused by this, Eddie Hearn is specifically talking about the first contract that was signed, the first bout agreement, first fight contract, and that rematch clause, and that being signed. Has Andy Ruiz signed a new fight contract? As far as we know, no. And I don't think Eddie Hearn has specified that. However, I don't think it largely matters, as I've said numerous times. I think Eddie Hearn, Andy Ruiz, and Anthony Joshua all know what's going on, and that is controversy sells. Whether it is like a concerted effort by everyone or just a natural way of promoting the fight that everyone understands. They know what they're doing, and they know what sort of reaction it is creating. Look at just the reaction our videos have received. Look at the comment sections. Like, it is clearly a lightning rod of interest, a fan engagement, and that matters more than anything else. So regardless of whether or not this new contract is signed, the old one is, I think that will probably take precedent, and I think Andy Ruiz knows exactly how much trolling he can get away with and how much he can't. And on top of that, I think he knows that he's being successful, and I think Eddie Hearn and AJ also know that he is being successful at it. That's why they aren't really pushing back at it in any real material way, right? So, not too shocking there. Moving on, but still sort of connected to Andy Ruiz, per Dan Rayfield, breaking, the IBF has agreed to grant Andy Ruiz Jr. an exception to bypass mandatory challenger Kubrat Pulev in order to fight Anthony Joshua in the rematch, but with stipulations, including that the rematch must take place on or before December 7th, and that the Ruiz-Joshua title winner must agree in writing to fight Pulev on or before May 31st, 2020. On top of this, Barbosa Boxing on Twitter said, "Did I hear Kubrat Pulev versus Junior Fa? Sort of an in-between fight, maybe for an interim belt." I'm adding that part. He isn't. I mean, it's a possibility, for sure, that we could see a Kubrat Pulev Junior Fa interim IBF belt in the meantime, or something of that nature, something to appease everyone. However, hold on, Cam, I'll get to your question. Can I see your question? I think it's a valid question. I'll get to it in a second. But Pulev, I think he's going to fight a guy like Junior Fa or someone of that level and sort of wait for his big golden ticket. Now, Cam in the chat saying, does this fight really need this for promotion, though? Speaking of Ruiz and Joshua and maybe the trolling that has taken place, I think there's a reason why I specified there's two routes or two sort of causes for this trolling, this sort of promotion. One, it could be a concerted effort. Two, it could just be natural. That big fights naturally have this sort of, for a lack of better word nowadays, a trolling nature to the promotion. Like, think about every big major fight in the last decade, guys. Think about what it took to, make the fight, what it took to get to the fight, the press conferences, everything. Think about every major fight. There is a level of trolling going on by the fighters and or the promoters to get you, the fans, either on their side, all amped up and ready to defend them, or, if you're against them, angry. And I think a large part of that is natural. Like, I think fighters, promoters are natural showmen, right? They're natural entertainers. I think about actors, right? They get on a stage and perform. Similar, fighters and promoters, when they get on a stage for a press conference or a media event or a fight, whatever it may be, they are performing. When they get on social media, they are performing to you guys. So, and again, I don't think it is as necessarily a contrived, conscious effort. I think it's just natural. Like, if you're a fighter, if you're in show business, you are naturally a showman, more than likely. So, while I do agree with you, Cam, that, like, does this fight necessarily need it for promotion? No, but I think fights of this magnitude, by necessity, or by just nature, I should say, probably more accurately, sort of drive this level of promotion, or this type of promotion. And I think that's what you're seeing, to be quite honest. But moving on, good question, though. I do value that. This is an interesting little bit from IFL by way of Michael Benson. Carlos Takam now signed with Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing, and so Eddie Hearn is no longer sure he will be Alexander Usyk's heavyweight debut opponent, which we previously reported on, I think, on yesterday's show. It's been widely reported that Usyk will fight on October 12th at the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, again, per IFL. Now, I mean, if Takam falls out and let's say we get like a Joseph Parker or a Chisora fight instead, I think it's an improvement. But let's say if Takam falls out and we get a lesser opponent, then it's a huge negative if this happens. So it's one of those where I'm not ready to really make a claim or a assertion on this news yet, because I don't know the ramifications quite yet. And also I don't know if even the fight's off, right? I don't know if even Takam Usyk is off at this point. But interesting that he is signed to Joe DeGuardia. Interesting that Eddie Hearn is now saying, hey, maybe we can't get the Usyk fight, which is weird. I'm kind of shocked at that, to be quite honest. But moving on, again, call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. International callers, Skype, Mix Combat Radio. If we have no callers, we're going to just burn through the show, have a quick one today, and hop out of here, guys. A little bit of a mixing of the world here. UFC President Dana White told media that he's making progress towards an entry into boxing. He intends to hold a Zuffa boxing press conference in October to unveil his plans, and said the ideas that I have are going to completely shake up the sport and piss a lot of people off. Also, I will say it's funny that Michael Benson wanted to censor piss. It's just weird. Sure, Dana, at this point in time, I don't believe a goddamn thing you're saying. But let's talk a little bit about the fights this weekend, which aren't that many. It's pretty much a dead weekend for the sport, which means, guys, tune in to all of my upcoming content on ShareDog.com, ShareDog.com on YouTube as well, with Anthony Walker. Tomorrow is the open workouts for UFC 241. Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. Nate Diaz versus Anthony Pettis. Paula Boachina Costa versus Yoel Romero. Fantastic card. I'll be there for all of the Fight Week festivities and obviously be credentialed for the fight night. So, again, stay tuned for ShareDog for all content. SHERDOG.com. You can find that YouTube channel in our featured channel section on our YouTube page. But just to give you guys an awareness of what may be happening this weekend that I actually will be attending and paying attention to, because boxing is quite dead. But there are some boxing fights this weekend, which we can talk about. Tim Tszyu, obviously the son of Kostya Tszyu, is fighting tomorrow in Australia against Dwight Ritchie. cool. Obviously, I'm pretty sure Mickey Caparelli, good friend of the show, will be there doing some great videographing work and photographing work. So shout out to Mickey. Also, ESPN Deportes, guys. Emmanuel Navarre versus Francisco de Vaca. Jesse Madaleno also on the card. Chris Van Heerden. Jen Beck. Alan McKinley. I always mess up his name, but that guy is a fantastic prospect. But guys, that's about it for the fights this weekend. Honestly, like that's it. And the Costa Zoo fight isn't even televised anywhere in the U.S. I don't know if it's televised in the U.K., but it's not televised in the U.S. Also, sorry, there's a UFC Fight Pass card August 17th in Springfield, Massachusetts. Charles Foster versus Dennis Grakiv. Neil Kennedy versus Devin Vargas. Shelly Vincent on the card. But that's about it. Again, really a dead weekend for the sport, guys. But don't worry. We have some callers. Gary in Dallas. What's up?
See, that was all part of the game plan for Charlo to look trash. Now Canelo will fight him.
Yep. Makes sense.
Well played, Jermall.
Hey,
well, see,
hey,
no way
remember,
it was intentional.
You remember way back in the day when Triple G was like, hey, I eat punches because I want people to fight me, right? Remember that? That was real.
I do. Yeah. You don't think that fight's going to happen, especially not next, but potentially in 2020, or do you think it's not going to happen then either? That's Charlo fight.
2020 is a possibility. The fact that it is now being mentioned by the network is a good sign. I will say that. Is it a sign that's happening next? No, but it's a sign that that side is more open to that fight, and the network is more open to perhaps pushing that fight than previously thought. So that's a positive. So 2020 is far more likely than previously thought. But then again, we're like Canelo's still operating in like 2 fights a year, so like I don't even know if he can get like looking at the guys he is looking at. I don't know if Charlo fits in the schedule for him next year. It might be 2021.
Right. If he fights Kovalev, then you would think 2020 in one order or the other is going to be Andrade and Triple G, which means that he wouldn't fight Charlo that year.
Yep.
Which is fine because those are those fights. If he fights Andrade next, then he could fight Charlo in 2020. It becomes more realistic, which it kind of seems like they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth. It seems like Canelo wants to fight Kovalev, and he's waiting on that. But they've also lined up this fight with Andrade. Well, which one is it? Is he waiting on Kovalev, or is he going to fight Andrade next?
Well, Gary, that's when I fall back to my point. Who's really talking here? Is Golden Boy out there saying Andrade, and Canelo's out there saying, I want to wait for Kovalev? And we still have this miscommunication between a fighter and a promoter that we've been talking about for weeks now. Is that the issue here? Is that why we're getting such a conflicting amount of reports? I don't know.
Ultimately, when you have a star like Canelo, ultimately, you can advise him and you can tell him, you can give him your 2 cents, and you can steer him in one way. But ultimately, he gets to pick who he wants to fight, and you have to make the fight happen.
Yeah.
So I don't think Golden Boy wants Kovalev. I think Canelo wants Kovalev. I think Golden Boy is trying to say, well, we can't wait that long. We can't wait to see if he wins. We have to sign something now. Trying to push his hand to make the Andrade fight because they don't want Golden Boy doesn't want to fight Kovalev, right? Like back in the day, Canelo said he wanted no part of Laura, but Canelo demanded it. And I said, what am I going to do? I have to make the Laura fight. That's the only fight he wants. He's a much bigger star now than he was then. If he wants the Kovalev fight, he's going to get it.
I agree.
Right? Assuming Kovalev wins and agrees to it. The only thing Golden Boy can do is say we can't wait that long. We have to sign a fight now. That's their only option.
And I don't think they really have to do that. Like Kovalev fights in a week and a half. Like they can wait, honestly.
Would Kovalev? I mean, that's still 3 months. Kovalev would make the short. We come back on 3 months, right? That's not too short of a window for him to come around.
For Canelo, I think he would. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I
would
think
be-
he gets past Yard with pretty ease. Like I think he's gonna get past Yard within 4 or 5 rounds and not really get hurt.
Then, if that fight does happen, assuming Kovalev beats Yard, that Kovalev-Canelo fight, the winner of that fight's the fighter of the year, no question about it.
Yeah, it'll be up there, yeah, for sure. Especially, I mean, even Kovalev, like coming back and beating Alvarez in theory, right? Then fighting Yard, this upstart UK guy, and then in theory beating Canelo. Yeah. I mean, that would be fighter of the year materials. Vice versa, Canelo fighting Daniel Jacobs and Kovalev in 1 year.
And Kovalev, that's a no-brainer. He wins it.
Yeah. The only other guy would be Inoue. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
If Inoue has Brian Burnett, I mean, I guess.
If Inoue goes out there and sparks Donaire out within like 2 or 3 rounds, it's hard to not say he's up there too. Because the way he demolished 118 is just weird. Like, it's so unique.
It is. But they're going to say Donaire was shot, right? Donaire really didn't beat anyone to get to the finals, right? Burnett threw his back out in the first round and then pulled out in the second round.
Yeah, but true. No, you're right about that. But I thought Donaire looked good against Burnett till the fight was stopped. Like, I don't think Donaire is like. This isn't Saddam Ali versus Miguel Cotto.
No.
This isn't Canelo versus Angulo. There's like certain fights. Yep, that guy is just shot. Donaire still has something to give. It may not be a lot. It may not be at the very highest level, but it is still something to give. I would put it that way.
No, 118 is loaded, and Donaire is definitely a top 10 guy in that division.
Yes.
He's probably not a top 5, but it's probably somewhere between 5 and 10. So he's
Agreed.
a good fighter.
Yes. That's a really good point.
Inoue's on a different level, and he's going to blow everyone out in that weight class, right? It's just, if you said he was going to fight Burnett again, or if he was going to fight Louis Neer, I would say, all right, that could be an interesting fight. Donaire's going to, Inoue's going to come out.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like, if you said Donaire's going to fight Manny Rodriguez, okay, he could win that fight. That's a good fight that he could win. He's got no chance, especially just stylistically. Donaire's there to be hit. Like, even when he was at his best, he still got hit. He liked,
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know how you beat Donaire. How you beat Inoue. I don't know how you do that. Like, I give me the blueprint to beat him at 118.
All right.
I don't know that.
Here's a question, okay? Was Peano this year? No, that was last year, right?
Peano was last year.
Okay,
yeah.
so you have Rodriguez and Donaire for this year, in theory, for Inoue. We have, in theory, let's say, for argument's sake, Jacobs and Kovalev for Canelo, right? And then I'm going to throw in another one. Let's say Manny Pacquiao, obviously Broner, Thurman, and then let's say like a Danny Garcia. Let's say he goes and just trashes Danny Garcia in a pay-per-view in the fall. Okay. Who's fighter of the year? Still Canelo?
I would still say Canelo because he beat the light heavyweight champ, right?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't just go up to 175 and take a belt off someone. He went up and beat the guy. He beat the man in the division, right?
Mm.
It was like when Roy Jones went up to heavyweight and he beat John Ruiz. Like, he was just going to get a belt. Yeah, he didn't go after Lennox Lewis. He's like, I'm just going to go get a belt. Canelo's not just trying to get a belt at light heavyweight. He's going after the man in the division. So it's Canelo. Like, if Canelo beats Kovalev, it's Canelo. It would have been like if Nike would have beaten.
What about?
Spence.
No, you're right. You're right. What about let's say it's Andrade. Let's say the story's right. Let's say Canelo fights Jacobs and Andrade and beats them both. It's still Canelo, or does an Inoue or Pacquiao come closer up to potential?
If Pacquiao wins again, that's 3 wins for Pacquiao. I'd probably give it to Pacquiao. But you could make a case for either one of them. It's a lot closer if he beats Andrade. You could still make a really good case beating Jacobs and Andrade, arguably 2 of the top 4 guys in the weight class.
Yeah.
Like, that's still a good argument. But the way that Inoue disposes of people, and if Pacquiao got the 3rd win, 3 wins counts for a lot. But I don't think Pacquiao is going to fight again this year. So I think it's only going to be 2. Oh, that's still a great year for Manny Pacquiao. Thurman
Yeah.
and Broner. I know we make fun of Broner, but that's a really good year for
It is.
Manny Pacquiao.
At 40 years old, yeah, it is. What are you more surprised at in terms of DAZN throwing PBC names in the mix? Charlo or Plant? Which one surprises you most?
Plant, because it's not. I mean, it's appealing to us, but I don't think Plant's a draw. And it's a horrible fight for Canelo. Like, I would probably pick Plant to win that fight. Charlo stylistically makes sense, especially how much he's gotten hit in his last two fights, right? Like, Canelo can outbox him, and Canelo's the bigger puncher. That fight makes sense. If you put it in Houston, it would be a huge draw. That fight makes sense. The Plant fight, that's high risk, low reward. Like, I would avoid that fight if I were Canelo.
Because of that thinking, you are like most surprised that DAZN brought up Caleb Plant as a name that they would want.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you wanted to, Billy Joe is a bad matchup for Canelo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on your own side. If you want, you know what I'm saying? Caleb Plant is just an unnecessary risk. First of all, he's not in your weight class, so why you're fighting him? And second, stylistically, that's a real bad fight for Canelo. For anyone, really. I mean, Caleb Plant's going to make most people look bad.
I agree. I think Plant is out of like the slick boxers that could give Canelo the toughest work. Plant, I think, gives him the toughest work.
Who would you would still lean towards Canelo in that fight?
Oof, I don't know, man. Like that, I don't want to be a victim of the moment with Plant because I feel like we're still in the glow of that Uzgatigi performance. And then he fought Mike Lee and like just trashed him, right? So like that, it doesn't tell us enough. I need to. I want to hold off on real like firm opinions on Plant until he fights like a Benavidez Durrell winner because he could be the guy that beats everyone. He is that talented, but
yeah,
I feel like we're basing that off of one fight in a way, and we need a little bit more to go off of.
The Mike Lee fight was a victory lap. It was his first defense. That's fine.
Yes,
He was
yeah.
supposed to. He beat him up real bad and got rid of him.
Yeah, no, of course.
But right. We're basing all of this off of the eye and one fight against Uzgatigi, right? Like, it's really like, does he even have enough power to stop world-class fighters in there? Maybe he does. I'm talking about Plant, right? Does he have enough power to stop world-class fighters in the? Because if he doesn't, he's going to lose, right? Like, if
well, I don't think he needs. I don't think he needs power to stop these top guys because like plenty of top guys haven't. Plenty of top guys in the sport made livings in the top level, not stopping guys. Like that's not necessarily an issue.
No, I don't mean. I mean stop them in their tracks. They can
okay, yeah.
walk right through.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Like, we were talking about Tanahara. Like, Tanahara might not have enough power to,
yes, no, I understand what you're saying. No, I understand what you're saying now. I just didn't hear you at the first time. I think Plant does because again, going after the Uzgatigi fight, he kind of beat Uzgatigi into being gun shy, not only through the boxing skill, but through just, I think, beating him up in the process. To be quite honest.
And then Billy Joe against Canelo. You would take Canelo in that fight too?
Canelo against Billy Joe? Yeah, I'll take Canelo.
That's a good fight. I would lean towards Canelo too, but that's a real. That's a fight I'd like.
Billy Joe Saunders is one of those people that could be one of the best guys at 160 or 168, but I never trust him to be one of the best guys. He's way too inconsistent for me.
I agree with that. Oh, and then the Usyk and Takam fight. Joe DeGuardia and Eddie have worked together before, recently. Like, he gave Joe Smith to Bivol. Like, they made that fight. Why would that be a problem? Unless you think DeGuardia is going to pull him out because he wants to make money on Takam before giving. Like, I think that I don't know how
I'll be honest. I'll think that I think the quote from Eddie has probably been taken a little bit out of context. I probably think Eddie's going like, look, like he just signed with a new promoter. Like the deal has to be done again. Like it's a new promoter. Like maybe he doesn't want to do it. I don't know. Like we just have to do it again. I think that's probably what Eddie was trying to sort of allude to. Is not of, hey, I think it's now not going to happen. More of a, hey, he's now signed with a new promoter, so therefore we have to negotiate with him now. Sort of thing.
So you still think that fight's going to happen? They may
probably.
have some details.
Though, hey, you know what? Because you're on, Gary, right? And I'm solo dolo, so who cares? Conspiracy time. Joseph Parker tweeted out, or not tweeted, had an IG post out today of him training, right? And the first person I saw that liked it was Usyk. So I'm not saying that Usyk and Parker are fighting. I'm just saying that if I were to be a matchmaker, that's the fight to make. Clearly.
That's a better fight. Like Parker beat Takam, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a better fight, and you beat Parker, and now you're a legitimate threat in the heavyweight division, right? Because Parker is a top 10 heavyweight.
Yep. Former champion.
Top 10 heavyweight.
Yep, former champion.
Yeah.
Has a win against Andy Ruiz. You know, like there's a lot you can sort of sell.
Yeah, that fight, that would probably be a better fight. And if Parker wants it, I mean, if Parker thinks he can win it, that's insane to me. Because what is Parker going to outbox him? Outbox Usyk? I mean, that's a really bad fight for Parker. Like, I don't think, like, this will be it for Takam. Takam made like $4 or $5 million for the Joshua fight. Right? He'll get one more payday here, and then he goes into irrelevancy. Parker's got a krilla. Parker's still reasonably young.
Oh, yeah.
If he gets shut out by Usyk, like, that really damages his brand. I don't,
Not really.
Like, if I was, you don't think, if he loses 12-0, 120 to 108, loses every round to Usyk, which I think he would.
I don't think that would happen.
It damages his brand?
I don't think that would happen, to be honest. I don't think it would be 12-0. I'm sorry. I don't see that happening. Like Michael Hunter won some rounds off of Usyk, for God's sake. Like, come on.
True. That's
like,
true. Do you think Parker beats Hunter?
Yeah.
And do you think Parker? Okay.
Yeah, I think Parker beats Hunter.
And do you think Parker would have beaten Bellew? The Bellew that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, hands down.
Okay, so you're pretty high on Parker. Okay.
No, I think Parker is. You're gonna love this comparison because it's one of those comparisons I've used before. I think on yesterday's show, Gary, with you, that was used in a derogatory sense, but now I'm going to use it in sort of a positive sense. He's the Jesse Vargas of the heavyweight division. He's just like he's a little above average in everything. Good chin, durable. Obviously, will fight anyone. Willing to work with anyone. So he gets into big fight opportunities quite often. Just look at his resume, for God's sake, at 28 years old for a heavyweight. Like, the guy has a stacked resume already. Even with some losses, still a stacked resume. He's the Jesse Vargas of the heavyweight division. So he's going to be around for a while, be a perennial top 10-ish guy for a good 5-10 years.
Yeah, I would agree with the Jesse Vargas analogy. I think he is the heavyweight Jesse Vargas. Usyk's going to be
very quickly, mentioning the Tony Bellew fight. Cama in the chat, Tony Bellew took rounds off Usyk. LOL.
He did, and that's why I was asking that. He did. Bellew was arguably winning. I didn't have him up, but you could have had Bellew up at the time he got knocked out against Usyk.
Yeah, you could.
That's why I was
like LA Bird could, like that's true.
LA Bird and Murata both had.
You mean Moretti, Carl Moretti?
Dave Moretti. Yeah,
Dave Moretti.
Yeah.
Well, there's Carl Moretti, obviously of top rank, and there's Dave Moretti, who's the judge.
Yeah, they were both their brothers, obviously,
Yes.
and one is an executive for Top Rank, and the other judged all of Manny Pacquiao's fights. How
Hey,
is that not a conflict of interest?
hey, man, this shit happens.
But to be fair, he wasn't biased. He was just awful. He had Vargas versus Pacquiao 6 rounds to 6. He only had Pacquiao winning by a point because of the knockdown. But he gave 6 rounds to Jesse Vargas
Yeah.
in that fight. Like, you know how bad that scorecard is? Like, he won maybe 2. And I was surprised Vargas fought as well as he did. And he won maybe 2 rounds. He had 6 to 6. And then he had Canelo Mayweather 8 to 4, which is awful. But then obviously it got outshined by C.J. Ross's card. Moretti is a terrible judge. Like, terrible.
You know what's
And
sad
other
is that I'm
executives-
starting to just think of like judges now, and I can only think of the bad ones. Like there isn't a single good like judge you can really think about. Like name one.
The two that I always Glenn Feldman and Lisa Jampa.
No, Glenn
Now,
Feldman's.
Lisa Jampa does usually.
You think Glenn Feldman's a good judge?
I think he's had one card recently that was off, but I usually think his card is. No, look, there's always rounds that we can debate, right? And one guy won another, but I always think Feldman's cards are reasonable. Feldman scored for Thurman, right? That was his most recent card.
I'll put it this
in a
way:
big fight.
Feldman has a very different reputation in the MMA world.
I didn't know he was an MMA judge.
It's the same. It's the same judge, same refs. Tony Weeks.
Oh.
Tony Weeks. He doesn't ref, but he judges a lot for MMA fights. Awful. So bad.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, Glenn Feldman is regarded as a bad MMA judge?
Yes.
Okay. I think his cards. He had Thurman over Pacquiao, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Was a really big card. But I don't like his cards usually make sense. Like, yeah, I might disagree with a round or two here and there, but I think his cards are usually pretty on point. And then Lisa Jampa. Now, at least he hasn't gotten the big mega fights yet. But if you go through her cards, the fights you've watched that she scored, she's never had a bad one ever.
I agree with that.
Now, her husband. Have you ever seen Lisa Jampa too? She's a little cutie too. She needs to get more big fights. Now her husband, Chuck Jampa, he's awful. Like he goes in the Dave Murray file of just horrible judges. But I mean those are the two I always think are pretty good judges. And everyone else has awful cards. Glenn Trowbridge.
Oh.
Is another one. It's right. Judges are like offensive linemen. You don't really notice them unless they do a terrible job.
That is very true.
If someone gets a card right, you just assume that they're supposed to get their card right. Like an offensive, if he just blocks, okay. If the quarterback gets killed, then you look at your offensive line like, what did you do? So judges. It's a rough job. You know, you don't get the credit when you get one right, and then everyone hates you when you get one wrong.
Yes. Yes, Gary. Sorry. Was that a question? That was a statement.
No, it was just it was a statement. It's a thankless job.
It is. No, it definitely is. But I largely don't care.
Like we can sit here and run off a bunch of terrible scorecards, but we don't sit here and talk about the good ones. Like we don't sit and say, you know, Trowbridge got all these fights wrong, but he got that one right, and that one right, and that one right. Ashley Bird's probably gotten more fights right or close to right than she's gotten wrong, but what is she remembered for? If I say Adelaide Bird, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Canelo Mayweather.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And there needs to be a standard for judging. Like there's umpires, like where they get called in, they have each round reviewed, and those who get the most rounds right by whatever standard they use to score a round right, they get to score the bigger fights, and the crappy ones go back to the club seat. Right? Because if you did it that way, Moretti would never score big fights. Instead, he scores every one. And the same thing with Harold Letterman's daughter. She's awful. And she gets a lot of big fights, especially in New York and New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the other guy's name? DeLuca? Max DeLuca? Is that his name?
I think so. There's a few DeLucas. There's a family.
Okay. Okay.
There's a Mark DeLuca. I know there's a Mark DeLuca.
Mark DeLuca?
And then there's a Max DeLuca. And I think they're either brothers or cousins, I think.
One of them is awful. Maybe it's both of them. But there's always a DeLuca who gets the scorecard wrong.
It's Max. I think it's Max DeLuca. Yeah.
It's Max DeLuca.
Yeah, it's Max. I think it's
Awful.
Max.
Yeah.
Anything else, Gary?
That's really all I got. Yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks for the call, Gary. Guys, that's going to be it for today or for tonight. Just a quick little show. Hope everyone enjoyed it. I'll be back maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I'll be at the Honda Center covering the open workouts for UFC 241. So I don't know if I'm going to be back here in time for a regular show. No, I won't be in time for a regular show for sure, but I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to do another regular show at a different time. So just keep an eye out for that. Stay tuned. Follow us on social media, all social media platforms down below in the description of the show if you want to see where those links are. But anyways, guys, find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Have a great day, great night, great evening, wherever you are. Peace.
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
You disrespect boxing, you piece of shit?
That's fucking illegal.
I am Phil. I am very Phil.
Where is this Burger King?
Who the fuck is that guy?
That's stupid. Use your common sense. Stay off the weed.
Just send me location.
It's bullshit.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
No, don't be scared, homie.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?